I'm Alec Picado. This is the Baseball Banter Podcast. On today's show, we have a lot to cover today on the show, including an early look at spring training, why the Yankees made the wrong decision not trading for one of the starting pitchers that was on the market, in the trade market, and part one of our bold predictions, and also covering a little bit of the position battles going on. But why don't we dive right in and get started with a preview of some of the opening day games. And right off the bat, as you see here, Thursday, the schedule's kind of light on Thursday, with one noticeable team missing, and that is the Rays. They moved their opening day game to Friday. And I will briefly talk about that on tomorrow's show as to why they did that. But the first game that piques my interest is that Yankees-Brewers game. And the pitching matchup there is Carlos Rodon and Freddie Peralta. Everybody thought with Garrett Cole going down that Max Fried was going to be the opening day starter, but it appears that is not the case, and it's going to be Carlos Rodon getting the opening day nod for the Yankees. I think the Yankees can I think they'll split this series with the Brewers. They'll split. They'll win. They'll split the first two games, and then somebody will win on Saturday. Because it appears I think this is only a 3-game series. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I think the Yankees and Brewers split. Then you got the Dodgers and Tigers. And yes, we know the Dodgers, their actual opening day is this week on Wednesday against the Cubs in Japan, in Tokyo. But this is another series that's a 3-gamer to start the year. The Dodgers don't know who's starting yet. Obviously, we know the Tigers are going with Tarek Skubal. And as you can see, I think there's a way the Tigers either at best split this series. Then you go down to the Blue Jays and the Orioles. And the Orioles have named their opening day starter. It will be Zach Eflin. The Blue Jays have not announced their opening day starter yet, which is weird. But I think it's probably going to be either Kevin Gausman or Jose Barrios to be the opening day starter for the Blue Jays. And this might be a 4-gamer, which means it starts Thursday and ends Sunday. I can see the Orioles sweeping this either 3 or 4, probably 4-game set. Then you got the Phillies and the Nationals on opening day. It's it's probably a 4-game set. And you got Zach Wheeler, the opening day starter for the Phillies. Everybody, I think, knew Zach Wheeler was going to be the opening day starter for the Phillies. And he's probably going to be followed by Aaron Nola. And then maybe Jesus Luzardo. Nationals have not named their opening day starter yet. I'm thinking it's probably going to be a Mackenzie Gore. Red Sox and Rangers is the next one. And I think the Nationals could split that series with the Phillies. Rangers and Red Sox. And both me and my co-hosts that run this show Tuesdays and Thursdays, we both said that Garrett Crochet would be the opening day starter for the Red Sox because that was the most logical guesstimation on our end. And it looks like that is going to happen. Crochet will be the opening day starter for the Red Sox. Pirates and Marlins. Here's another one that we said was going to probably happen, and it is, and that is the Pirates. Paul Skeens being the opening day starter, and Alcantara. And back to the Red Sox. I think the Red Sox will split with the Rangers. The Pirates and the Marlins. Alcantara and Skeens. Good pitching matchup to start the year. The thing is Sandy Alcantara, and this is my big question, is Sandy going to be on an innings limit to start the year? So when we get to July and he inevitably gets traded, most likely gets traded to a contender, he'll be healthy and ready for the second half of the season, and he'll be ready for the playoffs. Yeah, I've been reading reports that he will be on a pitch count. Not a pitch count, an innings limit. And I think the Pirates are going to sweep the Marlins. So the Giants and the Reds. Yes, and this is another one that we both, I said it, and I think my co-host said somebody else. I said Hunter Green was going to be the opening day starter for the Reds. And I think the Reds can sweep the Giants in this series, whether it be 4 games or 3 games. Then you got the Angels and the White Sox. Yuck. 2 bad teams that are probably going to be at the bottom of their respective divisions. And Kikuchi, I think the Angels are going to sweep this series. The White Sox are going to have another horrible year. If you haven't watched any of the previous episodes, I did an episode where I went over the AL Central, AL West, and all the NL divisions. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend going back to watch it. Then you got the Guardians and the Royals. And the Royals have, neither of these teams have named an opening day starter. I'm assuming the Royals is probably going to be a Cole Reagans, maybe Seth Lugo. Guardians, who knows? Maybe Joey Cantillo. But I think that's going to be a really competitive 4-game set to start the year between the Royals and the Guardians. Then you got the Mets and Astros. Valdez against the guy that I'm intrigued to see as a starter in Clay Holmes. And I think the Yankees dropped the absolute ball, letting Clay Holmes go somewhere else, letting him outside the city of LeBron and letting him go across the state to Flushing to go to the Mets and be a starter, when he would have probably been a starter now for the Yankees, because Luis Gil's out for the first 3 months of the season, and Garrett Cole's going to miss all of this year and the start of next year because of Tommy John. So, and I this is another series that's going to be very competitive. I think we're going to see a split between the Mets and the Astros. Then you got the Padres and the Braves. Neither team has named an opening day starter yet. I'm assuming, and I could be wrong, but for the Braves, it's probably going to be Chris Sale. Padres, maybe Dylan Cease or Michael King. And I could see this being a 4-game split too. 2-2. Somebody wins the first 2 games. Somebody wins the last 2 games. Twins and Cardinals. Okay. I think the Twins are going to sweep this for one reason. The Cardinals have no business. Sonny Gray should have been traded. Eric Fetty should have been traded. Nolan Arenado should have been traded. The Cardinals are making the worst decisions. These are some of the worst decisions I've ever seen a baseball franchise make. and not getting rid of veterans to let the young guys play. And then you get down to the last two games, the Cubs and the Diamondbacks. Cubs have not named a starting opening day starter either of the Diamondbacks. Diamondbacks, well, this would be the third game of the year for the Cubs. But opening day stateside because they're in Japan Wednesday and Thursday of this week. Diamondbacks, it's got to be Corbin Burnes. They're just waiting. Cubs, maybe Justin Steele. I don't know. I would assume, because it's only a 2-game set in Japan, that if Justin Steele does not go in one of those 2 games, and maybe it's a Ben Brown and a Jamison Tyon or somebody like that Justin Steele, I mean, if Justin Steele does go in one of those 2 games in Japan, opening day is not till their first game stateside of the regular season is not till next Thursday. So that would give them more than enough time to rest, because that's more than 5 days. And I would seem to think that he would probably start the first game of that series in Arizona. And then you got Seattle, the Mariners. Oh, and I think the Diamondbacks and Cubs, that's another series that might split. And then you got the Diamondbacks and the Mariners. I mean, the Athletics and the Mariners. And the Mariners do have their opening day starter named, and it's Logan Gilbert. The A's have not named theirs yet. I think it's going to be Luis Severino. And I'm sorry, A's fans, you're going to start out the season bad. You're going to get swept by Seattle. And now we are going to talk about a few position battles. And we're going to start with the Diamondbacks and their situation they've got at closer. They've got 3 different guys that could be the team's closer. And I want you to give me your opinions in the comments section down below on this and the other few things I talk about on today's show. You've got Kevin Ginkel, AJ Puck, and Justin Martinez. And I've heard from every analyst you can that this is a good problem to have if you're the Diamondbacks. You have 3 reliable arms that you could throw out there in the 8th or in the 9th inning to get saves. My personal opinion, I think you should give either AJ Puck or Justin Martinez the opportunity to be the closer of the Diamondbacks this year. And I just think one of them 2 could take the reins, and the other one could either be the seventh inning man, which sets up for the 8th inning, which is probably going to be, if I had to guess, because you look at their numbers in sprint from last year, and Puck was just filthy once he got to Arizona. And I wouldn't mind seeing him get another opportunity to be the closer. And then maybe you have a Justin Martinez in the 8th inning and Ginkel in the 7th. That's not a bad idea. And then in Minnesota, you've got Edward Julian, Willie Castro, and one of the prospects for the Twins competing for the job at second base. Now, the issue I've got with this competition is Willie Castro. We understand that he's kind of a platoon. He could play everywhere. He could play the outfield. He could play second base. He can play third base. And I think Edward Julian is a lock to make the opening day roster now because, of course, once again, Royce Lewis is injured and hurt, which stop me if you've heard that statement before. Because you have. It seems like every year Royce Lewis is injured, which is unfortunate. The kid has so much potential, and he gets hurt. And I forgot to mention we are part of the NGSC Sports Network, NGSC.com, NGSCsports.com. But back to this. I think Edward Julian's going to win the second base job because they're going to put Willie Castro over at third base until Royce Lewis comes back. And the last position battle I want to talk about is the job for the Angels at second base until they get Luis Rengifo back. Between Christian Moore and, quite frankly, a couple other guys that I don't think deserve it. Christian Moore has had a really good spring, and I'm not understanding why the Angels just don't give him the job at second base until they get Rengifo back. And I think Tim Anderson's going to be their shortstop because Zach Neto's also injured. And the Angels are going to be bad. And I am going to make a bold proclamation right now. I think Mike Trout will get traded, even though I've said it the entire offseason and he is not going to get traded. I think he will. Okay. Now we get to, and this might ruffle some feathers for the Yankee fans, but we get to a segment I'm going to call a team that made the wrong decision, and today that is the New York Yankees. The Yankees should have traded for a starting pitcher. You lost Luis Hill for three months. You've lost Garrett Cole the entire year. Your fourth starter is Marcus Stroman for probably the first 3 months of the season until you get Luis Hill back. And then your fifth starter is a guy in Will Warren, who, don't get me wrong, he's had a really good spring, but he is nowhere near the same guy that a guy like you could have gone out and traded for Eric Fetty and not had to give up a lot. Sonny Gray, not had to give up a lot. Dylan Cease, you probably would have had to give up a couple top prospects. Luis Castillo, give up a couple top prospects. But that's better than what you got right now. I mean, Max Fried's a good 1 or 2 starter in your rotation right now. Probably number 2. Rodon's your number 1. Your 3 is Clark Schmidt, who is also hurt, who got scratched from his start today. And we are awaiting a further evaluation on Clark Schmidt. So you could be down 3 starting pitchers. 1 for the entire year and 2 for an extended period of time. So does Brian Cashman finally say, you know what, screw it. I'm going to go out because I've heard people say that we made a bad choice in not trading for a starting pitcher after the Garrett Cole injury. Does he go out and make a move for a starter? I sure hope he does, but I don't know if he will. And I am not done talking about the Yankees. I'm going to be featuring them in tomorrow's show also. But now we get to the first half of my bold predictions for the 2025 MLB season. And they are as follows. I've got 5 bold predictions. Bold prediction number 5. The Red Sox will win 90-plus games in 2025. And here is the reason that is a bold prediction for me, and I think it can happen. 1, they made a big trade this offseason. And that was getting Garrett Crochet from the White Sox. And look what they had to give up. Kyle Teal and two lower level prospects that weren't going to crack the opening day roster this year for the Red Sox. And I think that the Red Sox, and also going out and signing Alex Bregman. Those are the two big moves the Red Sox made. And look at the Yankees. They lost Soto. They lost Clay Holmes. They lost Anthony Rizzo, which, okay, that's not a negative or positive. But they didn't really do much in terms, they did bring in Max Fried. But we've already seen Garrett Cole's hurt, Luis Hill's hurt, Stanton's hurt, and Clark Schmidt's hurt. But we don't know the extent of Clark Schmidt's injury. If we knew the extent of Clark Schmidt's injury, I would have the Yankees. I think the Red Sox are going to win 90-plus games this year and win, on top of that, win more games than the Yankees. My number 4 bold prediction is that Sandy Alcantara will get traded by the deadline or before the deadline to the Texas Rangers. And yes, the Rangers have the prospects to make this move, and I think they will. I seriously think the Rangers are all in on another World Series because they don't know how many more years of DeGrom they have left. They don't know how many more years of a guy like Nathan Eovaldi they have left because they just signed him in this offseason. Jock Peterson's there for 2 years. They will make a big-time move at the deadline, whether it be going out and getting Sandy Alcantara or one of these other pitchers like a Dylan Cease or a Michael King, which is somebody the Yankees should have gone after in Michael King because they could have reunited with him. Number 3 bold prediction. And Yankees fans, I know what you're going to say in the comments. You're going to say you're crazy. The Yankees will miss the playoffs this year. The Yankees, I have them finishing second in the AL East. But now with the injuries, and I know they're going to get Stanton back. I know they're going to get Luis Hill back. And I know Clark Schmidt's probably going to be back at some point. But can you trust all 3 of those guys to stay healthy when they get back? Stanton, obviously not, because we've seen over the course of his career how injury riddled he is. So I would stand to think that the Yankees, yes, I could look dumb for saying the Yankees are going to miss the playoffs, but it's a bold prediction, and so be it. My number 2 bold prediction, and I'm going to talk about this guy tomorrow night on the show with my co-host. It is Zach Veen of the Rockies. I think Zach Veen's going to steal 30 bases and hit 20-plus home runs. Yes, Zach Veen is going to he's either going to make the opening day roster for the Rockies because they really have nothing in the outfield. Jordan Beck has been anemic at best. He's been struggling. Then you've got Sam Hilliard. You've got their only good outfielder, and I'm not counting Kurt Bryant because they said he's going to DH this year. Their only good outfielder right now is Brenton Doyle. And then you've got Charlie Condon in AAA in the minors. That's going to come up at some point. Maybe this year, maybe next year. But I think Zach Veen's going to steal 30 bases and hit 20-plus home runs. Because he's probably, I'm going to say it right now, he's had one of the best spring trainings from a guy that's trying to make the opening day roster that I've seen in the last 10 years. And I believe that Zach Veen will make the opening day roster for the Rockets. And my number one bold prediction for 2025 is that Jack Cagliani, a.k.a. Cags, will be called up middle of June for the Kansas City Royals, and he will be there every day because they have Vinny Pasquantino at first base. Hear me out, Kansas City fans. Cags will be called up, and he will be the everyday DH, and he will get some appearances as a pitcher. And ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up today's episode of the Baseball Banter Podcast. I will see everybody back here tomorrow with a double dosage of the Baseball Banter Podcast starting at 12 p.m. Have a wonderful rest of your Monday.